Hello, my name is Dominic Underhall-House and welcome to another episode of Moonbreaker. In today's episode we're going to be looking at the Moonbreaker public Favro page. So if you don't know what this is something that the devs have, basically they've made it public. This is information that anyone can get access to see some of the things that they're working on and some of the things that are coming in the future. So first of all, we've got a little readme here, and it's just showing this is what we think we're doing with the game. It shows a few milestones at a time because we're constantly changing plans. Even the stuff you see could change, but overall we want to share only the features of which they have the highest confidence, and they'll add milestones as they become clearer. And warning, it contains spoilers. This is absolutely true. Plenty of spoilers in here, so the important thing already is don't watch this video if you don't want things to be spoiled. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through here and have a little look at some of the things for the future of Moonbreaker and see what we're quite excited for. So the first things we've got some of the units that are already on the experimental branch. So we've got Turncoat here, we can see a piece of art for it, and then you can see Flurry down here. So we've already got to use both of these already. And Hit and Run, who's the other one that I've been enjoying quite a bit of use out of, are really fun units on the experimental server. Next we've got Crash. So Crash was actually implemented on the experimental server but never actually was able to work. You couldn't add it to a roster, so that's something we've not got to play with yet, but absolutely is something that's going to be coming to the game. They've already got it developed out, and if you can see in here, EA4, EA5, EA6, so this is sort of when to expect things moving along these lines. So next here we've got Noxy. So we've used Noxy as well. Noxy generates the little toxoids when they take damage. That's another really fun unit. But now we start getting to interesting things. So we've obviously got map scenarios. Map scenarios is something people wanted with different objective base, so that sort of thing. And these were all just the initial ideas for it, with some of the Nolt notes and things like that, and some of the initial thoughts of it. But we can see this has actually come into play in experimental already, and that's a really great change. So really liking these, looking to see them be a bit more polished for the implementation, but really, really important. And Control Points pretty much does the same sort of thing here as well. Victory Point Destructibles. So at the moment these Destructibles are they're not Victory Point based, they're Cinder based. So I don't know if we're going to get the ones that are going to be Victory Points, but these are the only ones we got at the moment, is the Harvestable Cinder, but maybe that's in their behind the scenes experimental one as well. And then to have a look at things here, we've got Victory Points, expand roster size to 10, address terrain transparency. There was a really cool idea about this, including making every piece of terrain look like it has a physical base, like a real Minches game. If you put it on the table, you can see the line around it. This will do the same thing there. An all-new tutorial, which is fantastic. Love the idea of that. Ship assist deployment changes. Now, there's a lot of interesting things with this. There's the current version of Experimental has no assists whatsoever, and there's talk of moving them into a different game mode that we'll talk about later. And then other options for assists, so changing assists to be based on number of uses, not Cinder, again currently on Experimental. Changing stun to remove passives, so when a unit comes down, you can't use it the first turn. So that's for things like Quetzali and for Amplify Bite or Defense Dome, and that's a huge difference there. This one is one I'm sure some people will be very, very happy to see, myself included, is glitter paints. So I know that this was mentioned, but the fact that this is in EA4 says to me that there's a good chance that this is going to be something on the very next season pass. So amazing idea to have glitter paints coming through. I cannot wait. If anyone's seen the Trolls film, I'm going to be making Guy Diamond in as many different versions as possible. So very happy to see glitter paints. Very entertaining to me. Redesigned Astra's 2-cost ability. So it doesn't have anything written here. However, we do know already that the Astra 2-cost ability is going to be the next time Astra touches a unit, an allied unit, refresh all of their abilities. So we know from other game modes that includes movement, attacking, and any activated abilities, and this is going to be instead of Into the Breach. So Into the Breach being problematic just because of one person getting more proactive options than the other, or they can act straight away, the opponent doesn't get to react. It's something that should be limited in certain areas, and this is a really fun way of doing it. It does, however, bring out some really cool combos. So things like if you got a switchback, you use Into the Breach. Sorry, not Into the Breach. You use switchback. You use rapid fire. Switch it up. That's what it's called. You can attack something for 6, move Astra to touch their base, attack for another 6. Huge amounts of damage. And then when you start looking at things like getting Blindsider Esleys with pummel buffs and all that sort of thing, you could take out multiple units a turn. That's going to be some really fun interactions there. Turn timer improvements are also already on the experimental server. We've seen at the bottom right you get a little sort of circular like timer ticking down, tells you how long you've got left, and it's not intrusive. It doesn't make you feel pressured. Another really great change there as well. And then we've got intro and outro screen improvements. We've seen actually that there's been some streams from one of the dev team working on these, and they've been really interesting to watch. And then at the bottom here we've got rework crits with a bit of a backlog. So personally I think the best thing they could do with crits for a short term thing is just reduce the maximum crit damage to 1. That would be at least making it a lot more palatable for now, but it is a bigger problem than that can answer. So when we get to some more interesting things is we've got the EA5. So this one was called Command and Control, this one's called Training Grounds, and we've got our first look at a new captain. So this is the first thing we've seen anything to do with it. I don't know if this is the newest one or the next one, but we get to see Zuna. So we already know, so there's 2 images here. So this is the first one we've got, and I'm not quite sure why it's next to Maximus, maybe just to sort of relate the pose, but Zuna is the name of Zax's wife, who we may or may not have betrayed him and run off with a deathbot. We're not sure in what capacity, but this is Zax's wife who, something happened to that explosion that caused Zax to die, and somehow Zuna was involved. So there's some amazing artwork here. I mean, look at the detail on these. It's fantastic. These little bugs. She's got a bug, a bird, and some dogs as well. And she's a Cholek as well. So you can see here a little foot platform here with little spring boots underneath. So this art is incredible. She's got a little Cholek mask on the back. I wouldn't be surprised to see an alternate art on there as well. Now, from the weaponry, this looks like it's going to be ranged weaponry to me, but there's also a chance it could be a support captain, because this doesn't look overly aggressive. It could be that she even just creates these animals that go out and attack for her. I'm really, really keen to see where this goes. This is our first look at a new captain, and honestly, I don't know what to expect, but I love the look of it. I mean, I probably will be playing quite a lot of this when it comes to the live server. So here we are, Zuna, Zax's wife, potential betrayer, we don't know. Really, really keen to see that. So that's some very exciting first things here. And then we get, obviously, audio drama number 4. But now we get to look at... in fact, audio drama number 4, that gives us the hint that these are going to be the next releases. So even though it's EA4, EA5, the next audio drama should be scheduled to come with the next release. So there's a good chance that Zuna is actually just the next captain. And next we get a few looks at new units, but we don't know what these units do. And first up is Whispers. So I love this artwork. I can't zoom in on this as much, but Whispers looks to be a stack of creatures with a bunch of amplified tubers. I have no idea what this is going to be. Absolutely no clue. It feels supporty, maybe melee, but honestly, I don't know what that does at all. Maybe like a buff creature. It looks awesome. Arms Dealer Yuki is the next one. I love this model. So I don't know if you can tell here, but there's a person inside it, and then they've got the arms that have the sort of stereotypical do you want to buy some illegal wares coat, but on a giant mech. So I can imagine them covering this up and pretending to be a big mech, and then when someone comes around, it's actually just a mobile weapon shop, which is awesome. This to me feels like it's going to be changing people's weapon profiles, or maybe giving a buff, things like that. I love the look of this. It looks like such an awesome design. So really excited for that as well. And next, I haven't even clicked on this one yet, is Sporehead. So this to me looks a little bit like a sort of a cartoon version of a Colossus from StarCraft with some mushrooms growing out of it. And the race here doesn't even look familiar. So obviously the mushrooms would lead us to think Cholek, but the technology, maybe this is the Shizhen faction. So again, no idea what this is going to be. They're really sort of not making this easy to guess from the artwork, which is great, because I don't want to have everything given to us. So next we've got Dr. Feelbad. So Dr. Feelbad has been in the game previously, but it's another one that didn't work. If I remember rightly, his attacks leave sort of patches on the ground, it seems like. This is my interpretation of it. And those patches deal damage if people are still in them on the next turn, and his activated ability does the same thing. I can't quite remember how it works, but it was a really cool sounding idea, but it looks like it's had to go back to a little bit of repairs before it's ready to come to experimental or to live. And then we've got Fixer. So I have no idea what this is. Again, these are so many speculative things, but this almost feels like a name like Fixer feels like it's going to be a healer of some sort, but it could just be that they just bash someone. You can see here there's just a giant rock fist crushing Cinder, so there's obviously some sort of activated ability there, and at least a ranged unit as well. So who knows, maybe like a ranged Stitchy McPatchy. This could even apply like a regen buff. That would be quite nice, like heal 1 per turn. Who knows what Fixer is going to be, but very interesting. So I'm going to fly through a couple of these. We've got endgame social score and graphs, which I'd love to see, a combat log, which will really help people with the RNG aspect, if you can see exactly what the roles were and things like that. First time user flow, this is such an important part of the game, in that your first time you play the game, it should feel like a good progression, you should learn more as you go, you should be able to have a really good experience overall, and this is something. Sorry about that, I was just checking my microphone was actually not muted. And this is something that Moonbreaker has struggled with a bit initially, and I think could really be improved on. I'm looking forward to seeing that a lot. Additional info screens. I don't know what this is. There's a lot of things it could be, and I'm looking forward to finding out what it is. Tutorial modules, so additional modules is a great idea. Tutorial going in stages. A lot of games do that, I think it's great. And then sandbox mode. And down here we've got prototype captains. So I've heard some second-hand information that it's rumoured that there might not be, there might be a period where more than one captain drops in a season, and we get some sort of quick influx into the meta, and maybe that's what this is. Maybe it's just for cargo run, who knows, but exciting for the future here as well. And next we've got new culture, so we already know about the Shizen, and there's also one more, it's not Yeoweti because that's where Shizen are from. There's one more that we already know about, and I can't quite remember who it was. Yeah, maybe it is the Yeoweti. Yeah, but either way, there's a new cultures on the way, a new map, which we'd expect out of you. Every season I would expect to come with probably at least one new map. A codex, which is, I love this image being from Subnautica, but it's basically just, a way of looking at a lot of the information in the game, and it says here they've got overview, rules, cultures, moons, captains, crew, cargo run bosses, and audio dramas, so it's really expanding on that lore section as well as the rules, which I think is a great addition. And then we get to one of the most exciting things that I've seen on this whole thing is single player mode campaign light. So we know already that they worked on a campaign mode for quite a while. It didn't end up being something that got to the point that they were happy with as a development team, and it looks like they've actually gone to revisit it. I imagine this is probably due to player feedback, and also it's probably something they had to planning anyway. But also to bear in mind is that when they did all the sponsored streams, I was watching as many of them as I could, and a lot of the people in the sponsored streams were asking, is there a single player, is there a campaign mode, is there something I can do just myself playing? And I think that feedback is something that's going to really interest the dev team, knowing how many people wanted that in the game. So that's a huge feature that we can't see much here, but we can see you can travel to different moons. They've got skyways and paths you can travel to. Over here we've got things like cargo run locked up here, Savria's training academy, which is a great idea just to put the tutorials in here, and the codices over there. And then what have we got in this one? These are some lore sections and character sections on Blasco's Refuge. So we know that this is the Methodori moon, and Blasco's Refuge is where the smugglers are. They've got a little couple of pop words or sort of keywords here for design aspects, I imagine, as well. And then a little bit further down here we've just got tutorial modules, roster builder, and the map of the reaches. So all in all, there's loads and loads to come in Moonbreaker. I'm really excited for the future. Zuna being the new captain is so exciting. I'm going to finish up with this as being the last thing we look at. I cannot wait to get into this stage of the game and have the first big influx of new content. It's going to be fantastic for Moonbreaker, fantastic to play, and I can't wait to see what these things do and how much fun we can all have with it. So thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, you want to see more of this type of content, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, let me know in the comments below. I really do want to hear from you all saying what are you most excited for out of all these changes. And if you want to support me, the best way to do so is over at the Patreon in the link down below. But most importantly, thank you so much for watching and have a good day.